From the Stereo Sound Records Studios, this is the Mosh Pit Podcast. Here is the host, Wes Everett, bringing you the best in new alternative rock and roll.
Caliber, intoxication.
Welcome to the Mosh Pit. I'm your host, Wes Everett, and I've got Liv Luce with me here in the pit.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Bit knackered. Had a release party for the single last night, so that was fun. But otherwise doing well. It's nice and sunny out.
That's good to hear. About time we got some sunny weather, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so before we get into the release party, let's talk about your single Magpie. What was it like putting that song together and releasing it?
It was really, really cool. Basically, I've been in bands for a while, and slowly over the years, I was just accumulating solo material that just didn't really fit with the bands I was in. And so I've been sitting on some of this material for a while. And so amazing, like so pumped to have it finally recorded and getting people to listen to it and having feedback on it. It's really cool.
Well, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How was the release party? How was it received? What were some of the highlights?
Yeah, it's cool. Well, first it was in a local brewery, so that's always fun to work because like they do really cool craft beer and like, literally like you're playing and the smell of brewing is in the background. It's quite intoxicating, and yeah, there was quite a few people there. It was really good turnout, really good vibe, really good energy from everyone, and and also a load of friends came down, so it was just good to celebrate it all together. And a lot of the people a lot of the friends who came down also were extras in the music video that we did. So it was, we were all quite involved in this project. It's quite a team effort.
That's very cool. Well, I'm glad everything turned out well. So are you signed to Quick Fix?
Yep. The first, well, at least the single is, and the plan is to release an EP afterwards, also on Quick Fix.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, Lee's a good dude. I did his interview about a year ago now. Just a really good guy. So y'all go way back, y'all. How long have you known him? What's it like working with him?
Lee and I go way back. We've known each other, probably like 23 or 20, yeah, 23 years or something like that.
Wow.
Since I was a teenager. He put out my first EP when I was 15, in 2001. And it was the first EP for Quick Fix. So it was basically, they just started. And so was I, so were we, in a band called Caliber at the time. And so, yeah, we both of our beginnings started with each other kind of, and yeah, and we've been great friends ever since.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's great to work with people that obviously you love and trust, but also like it is great working with Lee because he's full of ideas. He's really passionate about what he does. He's spent decades developing contacts and knowledge of industry and everything. So it's always great working with him, and he gets to put me in touch with the likes of you, which is also really cool.
Hey, yay. Yeah, and it's kind of funny too because so I had walked away from the pit back in September and I was kind of done with it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break, see what happens. And I was scrolling Instagram one day and your single was on my feed, I guess from from Lee from Quick Fix. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I went ahead and followed you. And it wasn't long after that that Lee reached out to me. He's like, hey, you want to do an interview?
Cool.
And I was like, I'm not really back yet. But I said, you know what? People are asking. Let's do it. So here we are.
Wicked. I'm really glad it grabbed you. Yeah, you never obviously. As I said, it's been a while since I've done a release. Last time I did a release, it was like printed CDs and stuff. And so this whole like putting music out there into the ether that is the internet. It's quite new to me, and I wasn't sure how people would react and things. So it's yeah, really great to hear that it grabbed you and touched that.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
got you back into it.
Absolutely. Really, enjoying it again. So again, thank you for this interview. Let's talk about your upcoming EP. Do you have the songs ready for that? What's your next single?
Yeah, it's all recorded, and in fact, I've got about an album's worth of material. So
Oh,
we've
wow.
got the EP recorded, and we'll try and get that out as soon as possible. It's the next single will be Bright Minds, the lead track from that, and that's bass and guitar because we're a two piece, and the last one was guitar and bass. The next one's going to be guitar and drums. Next one's going to be bass and drums, and there's also a piano and drums track in that. So we're really kind of exploring the whole spectrum of two piece potentials. So yes, it's a bit more direct, and but it's still in the same vibe of kind of grungy alternative rock with hopefully loads of energy.
Very cool. Can't wait to check it out.
Cool.
Um, so where are you touring? Are you setting up a tour right now? What you got going on?
Not at the moment. At the moment, we're mainly focusing on recording. I live with Pat, drummer, who's also my husband. We live on a small holding, a farmstead here in France. So organizing it, we're quite isolated. So local gigs, we're using this single to be able to launch some live shows and get some contacts, and arranging a tour is logistically interesting with livestock and stuff. So but that's definitely something we want to get onto next, because live shows I definitely miss. Something I used to do a lot back in the UK when we lived in Oxford, and that's something I definitely really just like the energy of live shows. Like last night just reminded me, like, oh man, I miss this stuff. This is cool. Like just being able to just unleash and get everyone's feedback like face to face rather than via the internet, which is cool. I'm not dissing all the stuff all the campaigns that we've been doing on the internet's been really fun. But yeah, that kind of what's the blood, sweat, and tears of a live show definitely been missing.
Oh yeah, I get that. I get that. So Homestead, that's very cool. Yeah, I forgot to mention you're in France, which is really awesome. I love doing these international ones because it's so fun to, learn a little bit more about, the non-American cultures.
Yeah, totally. It's yeah, it's the joy of this internet era, making global connections.
Absolutely. Um, sorry. Where so let's talk about your I guess farm.
Yeah, so it's a small farmstead, and we've got goats and cows. We basically moved here
Hmm.
on with the idea of trying to create a project of self-sufficiency.
Hmm.
We were very much kind of down that career track back in Oxford, and we're getting quite disillusioned with just the normal kind of treadmill life, which obviously actually plays quite well with the single Magpie, which is about that sort of rejection of the sort of materialistic treadmill of careers that I think was the prospect that kind of faced at that point in our lives, and just between that and concerns over climate change that for me and for Pat very important to us.
Hmm.
It's we just decided that we just wanted to take a step away from it and build something that we felt was a lifestyle that was sustainable, but also kind of created a space for us to explore other creative projects. And I felt that for myself very much, like it's good, here there's a lot less distractions, and you can live very cheaply, and that means that I can spend more time writing and recording and being able to invest in creative projects.
That's awesome. And that's one reason I asked about that because I could kind of tell that from Magpie from the lyrics, and I was like, that is really cool. So, and I love it. I grew up on a farm when I was little. My parents actually still have kind of a smaller farm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I believe everybody should have enough room to grow at least one crop.
Absolutely. It's kind of basic life skills that I think, when you live in a city, and which, I did. I mean, it was never like super urban. It wasn't like London. Oxford's quite green in general, but still there was just that element of like, actually, we're there's so many basic things about it, just like being able to look after yourself that I just don't know how to do.
Mhm.
And now, like, yeah, being able to grow just some food, and even just to know and just have the space to know that you could, is really important. It makes you resilient. And I think if you have any kind of anxiety about climate change, or whether it's that or society, or whatever your forms of anxiety are, creating that element of control over basic elements of providing your material needs, it can be really empowering. I think
Definitely.
it can really give, it reduces certain elements of anxiety. It's hard work, obviously, but at
Hmm.
the same time, I think it can give you a lot of emotional space to feel like you're just tackling every bit of your life one thing at a time, and you're meeting your basic needs, and the rest, it kind of helps you cope with the rest. For me, anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We actually live on a lake, and
Oh, nice.
I've always said, if these prices don't start going down, I'm building me a water wheel, and I'm gonna run my important stuff off that and everything else on a solar panel.
Perfect. Yeah. Just a bit of
Self-sufficient.
space, and yeah, exactly. And a bit of buffer between yourself and the world sometimes can feel good. And there's just so much that you can do with actually very little.
Right.
It's a lot of it, and that was one of the things in the lyrics. It's like, with knowledge, and goodwill, you can achieve more. Like, it really is, there's this illusion that it's really, really hard, and that I think it's because we're so disconnected nowadays in society with how a lot of things are done, and how our material needs are met with industry and stuff. And because of the industrialization process, we're so detached from that we actually don't appreciate how easy it is, or how little knowledge. You don't have to be a really skilled carpenter, or a really skilled builder, or a really skilled farmer to be able to do a lot of stuff. And there's so much now available on YouTube, and so many blogs that you can pick stuff up quite quickly and quite cheaply. And I think that again can be empowering. It's like, you know what, yeah, you don't think you can do a lot, but actually watch a few videos, have a few opportunities to have, if you have the privilege, obviously, of having some space to be able to do some of this stuff. And you can do a lot. Like, everyone can do a lot. And I think that's something that people forget, but also, I don't want to sound too political. Like, this is far more of an emotional thing. I'm trying to avoid, like, to make this into kind of partisan politics, but I think there's a lot in the way in which society and the economy now is organized that tries to make it far less accessible than it is. And I think a lot of people can do a lot with very little. It's just they need opportunities, and they need time, and that's something that very people have very little of nowadays. People are just having to work so hard, and everything is so expensive that you just feel as if you can't do anything. Whilst I think if the world or governments could give everyone just a little bit of land, and a little bit of space, and a bit of time, then we could achieve a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But they don't want that. Then we'd be too powerful. And, again, not going into politics, but yes.
Exactly. I don't, sorry. Exactly. I don't, it's exactly.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And, you can transition that even into music. The time, the opportunity and the discipline to learn to play guitar or drums. When did you start playing guitar?
The guitar actually was probably about 10 years ago that I started picking up, because I was originally a classically trained pianist. As in, when I was a kid, my parents sent me to piano lessons, and that's really my first introduction to music, was classical music. That's what my parents listened to and stuff. And
Mhm.
through, like, friends in school, I started picking up the bass to be in a band, and guitar was really to write my own stuff. It was I mean, maybe some bassists are going to get really annoyed with me for saying this, but I find it a bit limiting to write songs as a bassist by yourself. Like, I used to love riffing, like playing riffs and jamming riffs in a band with people to then write a song from, but by myself I found it a bit limiting. So I just picked up a acoustic guitar and started learning it to write. So I'm not a very proficient, like whilst I'm a classically trained pianist, it's weird. I play the guitar with like no theoretical knowledge at all. I just kind of have a go and write stuff. So my chord structures are quite bizarre, and my time signatures are all over the place. But it works, and so it was quite an organic learning process. And it really was like me just taking myself off with the guitar and just I want to do some stuff, and I want to just be me.
That makes sense. Going from piano to guitar, was there a lot of like, was it harder to pick up the guitar coming from the piano?
Yes and no. It's structured my brain completely differently. The piano, it's like it's so kind of drilled into me in a certain way, and I've got so much theory that it's like I stopped playing piano for about 15 years, and I picked it back up, and they're like the muscle memory was all there, and it was really bizarre. Whilst like guitar for me, so that's like really structured, and every time I almost struggle to compose on the piano because I it's so framed in this kind of classical structure. And whilst guitar for me is totally free, it's like it was just this undefined instrument for me, and that just actually really helps for composing because it's I have kind of like a carte blanche of for creativity, and so I think it felt really really liberating. Dare I say, going on to guitar.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've tried to play guitar and I just again that opportunity and time and discipline. I just haven't ever picked it up, which is crazy coming from my dad actually plays bass, so
Uh-huh.
you know. Uh,
It's I think also like different instruments like lend as in you get different moments for different things like there were moments where as I said I just didn't want to play piano for like for at least 15 years, and then all of a sudden it was just like, man, why am I not playing piano? And I just want to get back into that, and I don't know, must be in a space in my life or a moment in my life where it just like it spoke to me again, and I just that really motivated me to pick it back up and do the work. And yeah, I think sometimes there's phases you go through where like you can motivate yourself to invest in the instrument. And I've certainly had that with the piano recently.
oh yeah. Let's talk about your influences. Where do you pull from for your music and your songs?
So I'm definitely grounded in the heritage of old 90s and early noughties alternative rock. So whether it's I mean my first sort of rock music that I ever listened to was a friend who introduced me to Radiohead and Nirvana. So classic, and so yeah, just Soundgarden, A Perfect Circle, Fugazi, Smashing Pumpkins, PJ Harvey, all of that kind of stuff is really what I listen to the most. That or classical music, it's which is, I guess, quite divergent.
I get you. I got you.
And that's it does kind of feed into what I write. I think as I said, I've got quite unusual time signatures at points. They songs written in 5/4, something that go well, there's one chorus in one song that's going to be on the album that literally we had an online debate about what time signature it was and whether it was 7/4 or like Pat was reckoning that it was like 10/11, which doesn't even make, or 11/12, which doesn't even really make sense. But anyway, yeah. And we and there's also quite I don't really know this. It's actually doing having the remixes done by friends, and someone was like, "Oh, what's the chord progression and stuff?" And I was like, "I have no idea." And so I sat there working it out on the piano, and it was actually quite interesting. And I was like, "Oh wow, cool. Well, thanks, thanks for getting me to work that out. It's cool." So I think that kind of reflects a little bit the syncretism of my sort of alternative rock heritage and my grounding in classical music.
I love that. I love it. What would you say is your biggest challenge as a band right now?
Biggest challenge, partly getting to gigs, as I said, for the logistical reasons of the farmstead. But otherwise, for me personally, it's trying to work out the new world of the internet and music, because I literally only got my first smartphone ever 2 years ago, and I did it for music, because I wanted to start the band again. So that's, last time I had anything to do with the release, as I said, it was all CDs and distribution and getting, your CDs into a music store, and it was way more about live shows and getting out there. And then there were still like A&R people around back in those days. And I don't know, do they still exist? I don't know. They probably do, but yeah. So it's discovering the joys and worlds of algorithms and streaming and stuff like that. It's a new challenge for me.
Definitely. I try to consider myself kind of an A&R guy,
Yeah.
a relic of the past. But
Love it.
but I kind of do that with the podcasts. I mean, that's basically my scouting of, all right, who am I playing this week? Who are my bands to fill this interview? So
That's cool, because it makes it more organic as well. Because rather than it being, as in, I'm guessing you look for music that you like and that you dig, rather than like it all being industry led and like money led and stuff like that. I guess it makes
absolutely.
it more genuine.
Absolutely. Because I find those that I try not to play a lot of the big bands that have, those thousands of followers. I try to grab those homegrown, the ones that are struggling, the ones that are hungry, basically. But I know
Cool.
when I'm coming back to this podcast here, I'm gonna change things up a little bit. So I'm looking at doing something a little bit differently this time, just to see, basically fight the algorithm at this point, rather than playing what I used to do. Is I took 5 bands, which included whoever the interviewee was. So 4 bands plus the interview, and I'd mix them in. But I'm thinking this time I'm going to do maybe bookend each episode with
Mhm.
2 singles of the interview.
Cool.
So
Really
we'll see.
kind of
Yeah.
showcase a profile, and it's great.
Yeah, like I said, I've gone through changes in this thing. When I first started it, like we would do a spotlight artist once a month, and we'd play 3 or 4 songs from that artist. Well, when you're playing smaller bands, they may not have 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah, of course.
So
The catch
it
22.
exactly. So I mean, we're just playing with stuff at this point.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said we're just playing with ideas at this point.
Cool.
So yeah,
Cool to keep reinventing.
absolutely. Let's talk about your accomplishments, the things that you've achieved that you are so proud of. What you got?
In music or in life?
Let's start with in music.
In
We can do
music,
both.
in music, I've said I am really proud of the material that I've recorded and recording to come for the album, because it's I think because I've been accumulating some of this stuff for a while, I've had the time of like the distance to to refine, to ditch songs that actually like a year later you're kind of like, you know what, that isn't there. Like when we were gigging all the time, we'd be kind of this pressure to keep bringing stuff out, and yeah, I think there's some. I'm actually genuinely really proud of it. It's one of the few recordings where I've listened back to it and like not thought I want to change a thing. So yeah, really like, yeah, it's great as it is. So that's really cool. Also done some really fun things as well when I was in bassist in Smilex, which was where Lee Christian, just front man of Smilex, and for example, we did a really cool collaboration with a dancer choreographer in Oxford called Naomi Morris, and she arranged for like a whole troupe of dancers and choreographed it, an entire show in a theatre based on a whole set, and stuff like that was like insane. It's just like really cool to be able to work with other really creative people who have great ideas, and to have your music inspire them to do really cool stuff is like always feels really good.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Um, I think we've got enough material here. I appreciate you sitting in on this.
So chuffed to have been invited. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let everybody know where they can find your music, where they can find you, follow you, see what's going on.
It's cool. The single is out on Quick Fix Recordings on streaming. So through the profile Live Luce, LIVLUCE, which is, by the way, my name. Everyone thinks like, oh, where's that from? It's like, it's my name. Yeah, it's so streaming on Spotify, Deezer, Apple, all the stuff, and also on Bandcamp. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Live Loose Music. And yeah, I keep trying to put stuff up there on all about the recording process and life here on the farm and what's been going on. So if people want to check it out and see what we're up to, go follow.
Definitely, we will definitely plug that. We'll tag you on all this. Again, I've really enjoyed picking your brain on the music and getting back in. Maybe 6 months, 8 months, we look at doing this again.
That would be awesome. Yeah, love it.
Very cool. Well, keep me posted on anything that you got going on. If you get stateside, love to have you in Atlanta.
Awesome.
So,
Well, I'll that would be awesome.
yeah, anything that we can do to help, just let us know.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the shows.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Cool. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Live Loose, Magpie.